All right, this is Family Springs anniversary week. We'll be in business 5 years, and through these 5 years, I've learned so much about water, and I love to share that information, as many of you know, right? Water teaches you so much about life, right? It teaches you about the economy, the environment, teaches you about resources, teaches you about chemistry, physics, geography, history, astrology, biology, right? And I incorporated so many of these things, business, into Waternomics, a science that I created, man, that helps me to learn and it helps me to share the information, right? So what I'm doing is incorporating these things into my business, and I want to show you guys through follow the drip, right? Because anytime you're setting and creating up a system, you want to give it a water test or air test, right, to find out where the leaks is at, right? And water is able to do these things, right? Because water goes through and travels through so many different platforms, so many different parts of the environment, right? The Lord separated water, right? All right, so you have as above, so below, okay? And with that being said, you have a positive and a negative aspect to water, right? Which makes it such a universal solvent of life, right? That universal solvent is meant to balance things, right? It moves throughout a cycle, a closed loop, I should say, right? If you know about electricity, you can't gain power with an open circuit. The circuit has to be closed. So our environment, in order for us to create the conditions that we need, we must have much more respect for the use of water, all right? And that means through the transportation and distribution of water, because it's not distributed properly. We have places in lower economic areas that are suffering because the currency is not moving through those areas, not being distributed properly, right? So when you don't have the proper circulation, like water naturally does, and you start to have droughts in areas, you start to have acidity build up, right? Because water is not moving, and all these things are replicated, right, through our body, and you can see it in the earth, right? You literally have two types of water. There's two types of water. One, you have salt water, and then you have fresh water. The salt water is mainly on the outside that we see everywhere, right? The seawater, okay? And the fresh water is locked within inside the earth, okay? So your body literally has the same buildup, right? You have a lot of sodium on the outside of your body. You have water inside your cell and you have water outside. The water outside the cell is the salt water, the sodium, right? And then on the inside, you have the fresh water, all right? But you need what's called a sodium potassium pump, which is a key, all right, a door, and then you need the sodium and different types of salts and minerals to actually access the inside of that cell, right? Mainly like you have the bedding of rock surfaces, right, that filters, you know, through into these aquifers where it creates that fresh water, all right? So everything has a system, all right, that it has to move through. If it's moved through improperly, or if the system is rushed and it's not going through its proper chain or its proper flow, we then find we pay the price, okay? Just because we don't have enough respect for the distribution of the water, right? Because water is going against its natural flow. When it goes against its natural flow, then we see the effects of those different things, right? Now we have droughts. We have things that are affecting us, and it's not going to be here for our kids. And our kids are going to have to suffer. The next generation is going to have to suffer, even if it's not you, just because it's not being distributed properly, right? We're overly using these resources, and these resources are affecting us. It's going to affect us, our health. It's going to affect our business, because our health is tied to dehydration, all right? And because our health is tied to dehydration, the earth is tied to dehydration, the effects of the environment literally dictates to the nature of the cell, okay? So what I want to do with this Waternomics is I'm creating a system within Family Springs to actually show and explain these different things. Listen, I was a CD student in school, right? So, you know, they say, you know, when you're not really smart, you know what I mean, according to their standards or their system, right? You can't allow more information really to get in. That's kind of like, you know, schools, right? When you get into your concentrated degree, you know, your area of focus, right? how open are you to learning other things, right? Because you're in your concentrated degree, right? But the more wide open you are, the more you allow more experiences to teach you, lessons. So I've been really an open book, because a lot of the stuff that I talk about are things that many of y'all may have known or learned in school, but it just didn't resonate with you, right? So as I start to learn and pick up this stuff, engineering and all these different types of things, I didn't learn this stuff in school, but I learned it through water. And these are the things that I want to share, with you, with our kids, so that we can have more of a respect for the thing that God gave us the most of, and that we can be able to use it, not from this point, but from, moving forward, not just from this point, I should say, but from moving forward, so that, my daughter, our kids can have something else left for them. This is what real generational wealth is, okay? So we're going to be putting these things together, right? Because in order for you to understand the value of something, you must lock it up, because you don't understand the value of it, and it moves so freely, and you look at it in an abundance, right? Sometimes it'll decrease the value of it, but respect the abundance of what we have, okay? When we respect it, then we don't lose it. The harshest lesson in life is to get something taken away from you, to only show the respect and the value of what it was, So, typically, we learn lessons through experiences in life, and we don't want every lesson to be a hard one, right? So, just tapping in, just the makeup of, the polarities, of this earth, right? You have a positive and a negative. You have a North Pole and the South Pole. Water is separated in between those, and there's a balance that we reside in the middle, right? That we're a part of that cycle, okay? And understanding the part of that cycle, those electrons that move through the atmosphere, through this closed circuit that we're in, this matrix that we're in, is literally electricity that's flowing, right? So electricians, they know and they understand that you have to have a closed circuit for electricity to move through, right? To give power, right? If the circuit is open or broken or short, it's short, it's going to rev up the RPMs, create heat, right? If it's open, it's not going to generate any power at all. So understanding that dynamic of how these things go together, we'll start to understand how we can utilize these things to heal. We can understand how we can utilize these things to balance our economy, create equal opportunity, right? Because, just like there's two types of water, right? Salt water and fresh water, everything in between is literally a degree, right? It's a kind, right? So you can have brackish water, which is real salty water, or you can have other different types of water, which is literally determined on the pH or the alkalinity, of the water, right? Just like you have many different brands of water. You got purified water, and then you have alkaline spring water, right? Natural spring water. Two types of water. Everything else in between just literally comes from the makeup of what you, the ingredients that is in it, okay? You literally have two types of people: white people, black people. Everybody else falls in between that spectrum of light, and normally you'll hear if one person is acting, a certain type of way, you'll be like, oh, you acting black or you acting white. You see what I'm saying? So, understanding that the degrees of separation, whether you're talking temperature even, is merely nothing more than degrees, and to find that balance, water usually does that, all right? Because it travels through most and gives perspectives to all, because everybody needs it, all right? So, and understanding how we supposed to flow, how we supposed to move on this earth, how we supposed to connect and be together, nothing shows that like the prism of light that's reflected through water and raindrops, right? Only then you understand and you get the pure definition of what, balance is when you look at the spectrum through a prism of rain, rainwater, where it reflects and shows a rainbow. All right, so that's about all I'm gonna say on this topic right now. But Stay tuned, follow the drip, Family Springs, and see how we do these things and how we explain the science. Waternomics, Family Springs, the alkaline man. May the peace be with you. The balance continues inside the body and out.